It began with a phone call that sent chills through the CBS offices, an insistence so bold it felt like a declaration of war. A junior producer froze listening as Meghan Markle's team demanded to host Drew Barrymore's entire show, not for a single segment, but from start to finish. Minutes later, an internal memo labeled it a soft takeover, and whispers turned to alarm. Behind closed doors, a secret test tape was already circulating, a flawless replica of Drew's set, starring Meghan, delivering a monologue that felt more coup than courtesy. What happens when someone tries to erase your legacy? Let's uncover the fallout. Before we expose this power play in full, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because the next 30 minutes will reveal secrets they don't want you to know. Like this video and share your thoughts below. Tell us if you've ever had your legacy threatened. Stay tuned for the inside story that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. It was never supposed to happen to Drew Barrymore. For 8 seasons, her daytime talk show had been a sanctuary, built on laughter, tears, and unfiltered honesty. Picture the sunlit studio couches awash in pastel hues, fresh flowers artfully arranged, and that signature theme music swelling as Drew steps into frame, her smile a promise of warmth and genuine connection. Millions tuned in every weekday, drawn by her ability to make viewers feel seen, heard, and above all safe. Behind the scenes, a tight-knit team of producers, writers, and crew had spent years perfecting that atmosphere, treating every guest like family, and every story like an opportunity to uplift. Enter Meghan Markle. Royal by marriage, Hollywood star by trade, and crusading advocate by reputation, she arrived at daytime television with an aura of reinvention. Through her Archewell Foundation, she pitched herself as a conduit for modern storytelling, promising to shake things up. Her initial approach was polite, an exploratory call, a friendly meet and greet, but the subtext was clear. She saw something in Drew's kingdom worth seizing. For Meghan, daytime TV wasn't just a platform, it was a throne waiting to be claimed. In January, a routine morning at CBS took a startling turn. A junior producer, headphones on, answered what seemed like another talent inquiry, only to hear Meghan's voice, calm, measured, and unmistakably insistent. "We'd like Meghan to guest host the entire episode," said the voice on the line. Solo. No segment. No co-hosting. The request was absurd. Nobody replaces Drew Barrymore on her own stage, but it arrived wrapped in corporate polish and backed by a detailed memo from Archewell, branding itself as a soft takeover. The message landed like a bomb. Evolution of daytime storytelling, it read. Meghan as the new face. Word spread through the CBS corridors. Executives exchanged puzzled looks over coffee cups. Producers whispered in break rooms. Drew's team, initially amused by what they assumed was a prank, soon realized this was no joke. The memo included strategic talking points, demographic analyses showing Meghan's appeal to younger viewers, even sample taglines positioning her as the authentic voice of a new generation. It was all meticulously crafted until someone leaked it internally, and the shockwaves hit full force. Meanwhile, behind closed doors in a West Hollywood studio, the real coup was taking shape. Meghan had commissioned a secret test segment, a near-perfect replica of Drew's set, complete with identical cushions, floral arrangements, and camera angles. The title card read The M Show, and as the tape rolled, Meghan emerged from stage left, delivering a monologue that sounded eerily strategic. "We've all been underestimated. Eventually, we stop waiting for a seat at the table and build our own." Her tone was cool, deliberate, each word chosen to contrast with Drew's buoyant charm. Once the clip leaked, insiders described it as a funeral for Drew's vibe. As that footage circulated among CBS decision-makers, anxiety morphed into outrage. How had someone outside the network secured those set designs, those production notes? How many more surprises lay in wait? At the same time, Drew Barrymore had no idea the storm gathering around her show. She continued to rehearse segments about community heroes and feel-good surprises, trusting that her carefully crafted world was safe, until the first direct message arrived on her phone. She had her moment. Now, step aside. The words were curt, unsigned, and sent from a burner number traced back to Pasadena, tantalizingly close to Archewell's offices. That single DM cracked open a hidden war. Drew's producers scrambled to trace its origin, pinging servers and examining metadata. Simultaneously, CBS executives began consolidating leaks, fake press releases, slide decks mocking Drew's nostalgic style, and anonymous emails urging a legacy rebrand. The network found itself caught between protecting its star and placating a high-profile outsider, wielding influence and deep pockets. Every hallway conversation became a strategic debate, defend the brand built on heart or bow, to the ambition that threatened to overshadow it. Amid that uncertainty, the audience remained blissfully unaware. Cameras rolled as if nothing had changed, capturing Drew's signature warmth and unguarded laughter. But backstage, the tension was palpable, a silent countdown to a confrontation nobody saw coming. And somewhere in that swirl of nerves and anticipation lay the unspoken question: what happens when someone tries to erase the very foundation you've spent years building? The answer would come soon enough. But first, we need to unravel how a simple show about kindness ignited a battle for its own survival. It started with a flurry of messages nobody could have predicted. Within days of that first soft takeover memo, producers began receiving cryptic emails stamped with Archewell Confidential, complete with internal CBS jargon that only someone on the inside could know. One read: "The Drew brand is nostalgic. Meghan is now." Another arrived in a disposable account: "Opportunity for reset. You don't have to fight this, shape it." Attached was a polished fake press release titled "CBS welcomes Meghan Markle as new voice of daytime TV." The words were clinical precise and unnervingly professional. Meanwhile, deep in the bowels of CBS, whispers turned into outright panic. Executives huddled in corner offices trading fragments of leaked slides, mock-ups of a revamped set bearing Meghan's initials, demographic charts projecting a spike in viewer engagement, and comparison graphs painting Drew's cute, emotionally safe style as outdated. Anyone who saw those files described a cold efficiency, no creativity, no warmth, just data-driven ambition, masked as innovation. Backstage, Drew's team wrestled with disbelief. "Who has access to our pitch decks?" One producer snapped, eyes scanning her inbox for clues. Another replayed an anonymous DM that landed in the showrunner's Slack. "She's tried everything polite. Now step aside or be exposed." The words echoed the earlier threats, but carried a new sting. They weren't just suggestions, they were commands. At the same time, the secret test tape continued its quiet journey through private channels. Shot in a West Hollywood studio far from CBS's home base, it showed Meghan gliding onto a near-identical set, her smile cool, her tone steely. "For too long, daytime has been ruled by tears and nostalgia," she intoned. "I'm here to offer perspective, power, purpose." She paused, letting the words hang like a gauntlet. Production staff who watched it described a palpable chill, as if someone had dimmed the lights on Drew's entire legacy. Then came the late-night DM that changed everything. Drew's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "If you really believe in women's empowerment, let go." No greeting, no signature, just that single loaded sentence. Drew looked at it, let out a hollow laugh, then locked her phone and told her team to trace the origin. The ping placed it in Pasadena, just miles from Archewell's offices. But proximity wasn't proof. What it did guarantee was one unsettling truth: someone with access, influence, and intent was waging a silent war against the show. As those story fragments collided, CBS finally called an emergency meeting. Around the mahogany table sat senior producers, legal counsel, and network VPs. The leaked slides, the fake press release, the test tape, all were laid bare. One executive summed it up: "This isn't a guest spot. It's a power grab." But confronting a figure of Meghan Markle's stature that required more than indignation. It required evidence solid enough to withstand her team's likely denials and PR spin. While CBS strategized, Meghan's operatives didn't pause. A flurry of DMs landed in various inboxes. Producers received clips of Drew's on-air tears, annotated with snarky captions. Like Leadership One, CBS assistant found a mock invitation. Join us for the M Show pilot screening, complete with a sleek branded PDF. It all pointed to an orchestrated campaign, not a spontaneous idea. On the show floor, cameras rolled as if nothing had shifted. Drew greeted guests with her trademark exuberance, unaware that under the bright lights, someone whispered soft takeover into her microphone feed. The audience heard only her laughter, but backstage, the atmosphere was electric. Every smile carried the weight of a looming clash, every joke a fragile respite. Then, at midday, a junior marketing assistant leaked a 15-second snippet of the secret test tape to a TikTok influencer with a Drew fan account. The clip dropped at 6:42 p.m. Meghan, stepping onto a set that looked felt and sounded like Drew's identical camera angles, the same pastel palette, even the theme music slowed by a few beats. At 10 p.m., it had 2.8 million views and counting. In the comments, fans lashed out, "This feels like sabotage. She's rewriting Drew's script, single white female daytime edition." Hashtags exploded. "Ragas protect Drew, and Shi'Gaidater daytime belongs." To Drew trended worldwide. Within hours, emails and tweets flooded CBS. Sponsors demanded answers. Advertisers threatened to pull budgets. Social media erupted in solidarity chants. A senior network exec later admitted he'd never seen such a swift, visceral reaction to a leak. Overnight, the public had chosen sides, and they were all backing Drew. In the aftermath, Meghan's team scrambled. A furious email arrived at CBS. "We shared that footage in confidence. Are you going to let online mobs dictate the table?" But it fell on deaf ears. One CBS producer quipped in response, "It's not a mob. It's Drew's family, and they're louder than your pitch." Under that pressure, CBS issued a statement. "There are no plans to replace or rebrand the Drew Barrymore show. All materials related to alternative proposals remain unaired and under review." It was a firm line in the sand, but the war was far from over. Within days, Drew's producers moved into quiet overdrive, scripting a tribute episode that would serve as both celebration and rebuttal. The guest list sparkled: Sher Shepherd, Kelly Clarkson, and an inspirational pre-recorded message from Oprah herself. The message was clear. Daytime TV was built on authenticity, collaboration, and emotional truth, not corporate takeovers. Yet while Drew's team orchestrated their response, Meghan's side continued to push. Insider reports surfaced that Archwell had quietly contacted several advertisers pitching the test tape as the future of post-Oprah daytime. One advertiser's leaked reply said, "We love Meghan, but we won't invest in someone burning the stage she stands on." As the two storylines converged, Drew's heartfelt counter-program and Meghan's relentless campaign, the conflict reached a fever pitch. It was no longer about host swaps or rebranded title cards. It was about legacy authenticity and the right to define your own narrative. And when the cameras rolled on Drew's tribute episode, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Would a show built on kindness and vulnerability withstand an onslaught of cold, calculated ambition? Or would the soft takeover succeed in rewriting daytime television forever? Drew's response was as calculated as Meghan's takeover attempt, but fueled by something far more powerful than data and demographics. As the TikTok clip exploded across social media, Drew and her core team huddled in an unmarked rehearsal studio, the fluorescent lights casting long shadows as they plotted what would become their quiet but devastating counterattack. For weeks, they'd been under siege, leaked slides mocking Drew's nostalgia, anonymous DMs branding her soft and safe, and that secret test tape showing Meghan gliding across a duplicate set. But Drew refused to panic. She leaned on the one thing no external force could replicate: authenticity. In a room lined with whiteboards and half-drunk coffee cups, she sketched the blueprint for her tribute episode, a strategic revenge not of bitterness, but of unwavering grace. First, she needed star power. Invitations went out to Cher Shepherd, the rogue investigative journalist whose exposés had challenged Hollywood's power brokers; Kelly Clarkson, whose raw vulnerability and powerhouse voice offered a direct emotional line to millions; and most importantly, Oprah Winfrey, the undisputed queen of daytime. The ask was bold, a pre-recorded message from Oprah praising the quiet strength that had defined Drew's career. When the acceptance emails arrived, each a digital exclamation point, Drew allowed herself a small private smile. Next came the set design. Instead of pastel hues and rosy blooms, Drew's team opted for a palette of deep emerald and gold accents, colors symbolizing renewal and resilience. The familiar couch remained, but they draped it with a solitary throw blanket in Drew's signature sunflower yellow, a subtle callback to her light in darkness ethos. Every element from the lighting rig to the guest seating arrangement was chosen to evoke warmth anchored by strength, a visual statement that this was Drew's domain, unshakable, even under the fiercest pressure. Meanwhile, the script underwent a rigorous transformation. Gone were the light-hearted banter and glossy segues. In their place, Drew crafted narrative beats that mirrored the arc of her own upheaval setup of the threat journey through betrayal turning point of empowerment and ultimate triumph. Lines were written to acknowledge the undercurrent of conflict without naming Meghan an intentional choice to maintain dignity, while making the subtext razor-sharp. One key moment, Drew would turn to the live audience and say, "Sometimes the loudest threat comes wrapped in a whisper." The pause after that line was engineered to hang in the air like a dropped gavel. To heighten emotional investment, the producers incorporated personal video testimonials from crew members who had worked with Drew since season 1. In grainy handheld footage, a camera operator recounted the night they celebrated 100 episodes with champagne and impromptu dance, while a makeup artist recalled the time Drew comforted her on a personal hardship. Each clip underscored the communal trust woven into the show's DNA, something no outsider could duplicate with a polished pitch deck. As rehearsals intensified, so did the stakes. Leaked intelligence suggested that Meghan's team had already begun cutting a response promo image, set for release on the same day as Drew's tribute. That knowledge injected a quiet urgency into every read-through they had, to time the episode's emotional crescendo, to dominate the cultural conversation, crowding out any competing narratives. Technical directors synchronized the taping schedule so that the final monologue would air exactly at 8:15 p.m. prime time for viral shares and headline syndication. On the day of the taping, an electric charge pulsed through CBS's Studio 42. The audience, a carefully vetted mix of superfans and industry insiders, buzzed with anticipation, unaware of the behind-the-scenes chess match. When the cameras rolled, Drew opened with a measured calm, her smile steady, but eyes glinting with purpose. She welcomed Cher Shepherd to discuss journalistic integrity, then shifted to Kelly Clarkson's segment, weaving in anecdotes about perseverance that resonated as much for her crew as for her viewers. But the real turning point arrived in the closing act. The lights dimmed, leaving Drew spotlighted against that emerald and gold backdrop. The audience leaned forward, sensing the gravity of what was coming. Drew spoke of being underestimated, of the quiet shove that almost knocked me off balance. Her voice wavered only once, a deliberate crack that carried the weight of every leaked threat and every mocked-up slide. Then she delivered the line they'd all been waiting for. When someone tries to take something you built with kindness, it isn't about you. It's about their fear. Silence swallowed the studio. No applause, no laughter. A collective breath held in awe. In that pregnant pause, Drew's point landed with surgical precision. She would never be defined by someone else's ambition. That moment frozen on camera was the climax of her plan. As soon as the final applause erupted, slow reverent, then roaring, Drew had conquered the narrative battlefield. Clips of her monologue flooded social media within minutes. Fans posted time-stamped highlights. News outlets inserted GIFs into their coverage, and even late-night comedians featured her composure as their punchline. The meticulously timed strategy worked by the time Meghan's response promo was scheduled to drop. The world had already moved on. Behind the scenes, Drew's team exhaled. They'd turned a threat into an opportunity to showcase the very qualities Archwell had maligned: authenticity, empathy, collaboration. Their revenge had been more powerful than any aggressive takeover. It was a reclaiming of narrative through vulnerability, made invincible by truth. And as the credits rolled that night, Drew Barrymore didn't just host a tribute episode. She orchestrated a masterclass in strategic comeback, ensuring that no one would ever undervalue her voice again. When the cameras rolled on Drew's tribute episode, the real battle began. From the first moment she stepped onto that stage, bathed in emerald and gold light, every gesture, every word, became part of a carefully choreographed counter-strike. As Drew greeted Cher Shepherd, the veteran investigative journalist whose fearless reporting had toppled empires, you could see her eyes gleam with purpose. Cher shared stories of exposing Hollywood's darkest corners, but then turned to Drew and whispered, "They almost buried you." The audience leaned in, sensing the subtext. This was no ordinary reunion. Next up was Kelly Clarkson, walking onto the set with the kind of raw energy that electrifies arenas. As she hugged Drew, Kelly's voice cracked as she recounted a time Drew had comforted her after a brutal tabloid scandal. The cameras caught Drew's soft smile and Kelly's tear-filled eyes, moments that spoke louder than any slap at Meghan's polished test tape. Each embrace, each heartfelt anecdote, reinforced the bond between Drew and her team, highlighting the authenticity that no spreadsheet or marketing memo could manufacture. Midway through the taping, the mood shifted. The studio lights dimmed, the music swelled, and on the giant video wall behind Drew appeared a montage of behind-the-scenes clips. Drew laughing with crew members at a 100-episode wrap party. The makeup artist wiping away tears as Drew offered words of encouragement. The floor director recalling how Drew once stayed late to help a nervous intern nail their first camera cue. These grainy handheld shots, spliced together with intentional imperfection, screamed credibility, an unvarnished portrait of loyalty and love. It was a strategic contrast to the cold professionalism of Meghan's leaked test footage. As the montage faded, Drew took center stage and spoke into the silence. "They thought they could replace us with a perfect script and a copied set. But you can't fake a family." The pause that followed was calculated long enough for every viewer to feel the weight of her words. Then she continued, voice steady. "You can build a throne out of steel and glass, but it won't stand when the people you invited to sit there walk away." The cameraman held the close-up on Drew's face, capturing the flicker of defiance in her eyes. Behind the scenes, producers monitored social media for reaction. Within minutes, clips of Drew's family montage began circulating on Twitter. "Drew just schooled a takeover bid," wrote one user. "No one does empathy," like Barrymore commented another, and a flurry of retweets pushed the hashtag #NalyrsDrewFamily to trend nationally. It was a pre-planned move. Drew's team had embedded subtle QR codes during commercial breaks to drive viewers to share the clip, igniting a grassroots campaign that overshadowed any scripted PR response Meghan's side might muster. Then came the show's climax, Oprah Winfrey's pre-recorded message. On screen, Oprah's warm voice filled the studio. "I've seen leaders rise on platforms built from fear and ego. But Drew Barrymore reminds us that true power comes from listening louder than you speak and giving before you take." As Oprah's words echoed, the live audience broke into genuine applause, tears glistening on cheeks. On stage, Drew stood still, nodding a portrait of quiet victory. What happened next caught everyone off guard. TMZ burst the bubble with an exclusive leak. Meghan's team had prepared a response package to air immediately after Drew's tribute. But by the time that package was scheduled to drop, slides mocking Drew's tears, recut M-show footage, and a scathing voiceover tearing down the old approach to daytime TV public attention had already shifted. News outlets led with headlines like "Drew Barrymore's graceful triumph over secret takeover" and clips of Oprah praising Drew outperformed any teaser Meghan's team could release. Even Variety's front page featured Drew's monologue instead of Meghan's test tape. As the studio lights came up, Drew walked off stage to a standing ovation. Backstage, her producers exchanged triumphant glances. The reaction was more than a win, it was a rout. International feeds replayed her family montage, and within hours, streaming platforms offered free replays of the tribute episode. Sponsored ad buys for Drew's next season sold out in record time, while initial orders for any M-Show merchandising quietly evaporated. In the days that followed, the metrics spoke volumes. The Drew Barrymore show hit its highest ratings in over 2 years. Social engagement surged by 65%, and advertisers lined up to renew their contracts. Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of West Hollywood, Meghan's operatives watched their own footage gather dust, unable to compete with the wave of authentic connection Drew had unleashed. The true execution of Drew's revenge was not a scathing comeback or a public spat. It was a masterclass in narrative reclamation. By elevating genuine relationships and refusing to descend into drama, Drew transformed every threat into an opportunity to showcase what genuine leadership looks like: vulnerability anchored by conviction. And in doing so, she proved that when someone tries to steal your story, the only response you need is to tell it louder, more honestly, and with unwavering heart. By dawn the next morning, the fallout was unmistakable. Across social media, Drew's tribute episode clips racked up tens of millions of views, her family montage and Oprah's endorsement dominating trending feeds. Lars Drew family surged to the top of Twitter, eclipsing every mention of Meghan's leaked test tape. Within hours, Entertainment Tonight ran a banner headline: Drew Barrymore's graceful triumph silences takeover bid. Advertisers once teetering between Drew's warm embrace and Meghan's sleek pitch made their choice clear. 2 major sponsors confirmed contract renewals on the spot, citing unmatched audience loyalty, while 3 potential M-Show brand partnerships quietly evaporated. One network insider admitted, "When viewers speak with their wallets, you follow the ratings," and Drew just shattered CBS's 2-year viewership record. CBS executives who had spent weeks in closed-door meetings debating how to appease both camps now shifted into celebration mode. The same corner offices that once buzzed with anxiety now echoed with relieved laughter and toasts over coffee mugs. A senior VP acknowledged, "We braced for a PR nightmare. Instead, we got a masterclass in authentic storytelling." Behind the scenes at Archewell, the mood was starkly different. Emails went unanswered. A planned press statement never materialized. By midday, Meghan's team was scrambling to contain the narrative, only to find the conversation had already moved on. Industry insiders reported an unspoken blacklist forming meetings scheduled months in advance were quietly canceled, and requests for a formal interview were met with silence. Meanwhile, fan communities mobilized into digital advocacy groups. Reddit threads dissected every frame of Drew's episode, praising her composure and calling for official apologies from Meghan's camp. A Change.org petition demanding CBS publicly affirm Drew's legacy gathered 50,000 signatures overnight. Even late-night talk shows and pop culture podcasts opened segments with clips of Drew's climactic line, "When someone tries to take what you built with kindness, it's about their fear." Critics who once speculated about Meghan's daytime ambitions now shifted tone entirely. Variety ran an op-ed titled "The Quiet Power of Empathy," using Drew's comeback as a case study in crisis management. TV Guide's cover story lauded her unflashy, unshakable victory, while People magazine credited her team's strategic pacing and emotional authenticity for changing the rules of the game. As for Drew herself, she maintained her trademark humility. In her next live taping, scheduled immediately after the tribute episode's success, she opened with a gentle nod to the previous night's record ratings and said, "I'm grateful we could share something real last night. That's what this show has always been about." The audience erupted not for a victory lap, but in celebration of shared values, proof that her brand of kindness had not only weathered the storm, but emerged stronger. By week's end, the Drew Barrymore show's advertising slots sold out, and the network green-lit 2 additional special episodes centered on themes of resilience and community. Across the industry, executives cited her tribute episode as the blueprint for turning crisis into connection. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle's test footage sat on private hard drives, a cautionary tale of what happens when ambition eclipses authenticity. In the end, the loudest voice in the room proved to be the one guided by empathy, not ego. And as Drew's audience continued to grow, one lesson became clear: in a world where anyone can stage a takeover, only those who stay true to their story can truly win.